Welcome everybody to my adoption channel. My name is Nairi, this is Fly Little Birds, and I do content around adoption, fostering, early childhood trauma. So if you find that interesting, please subscribe. First of all, I want to say welcome to Debbie, my new member. So we've got 5 members now, how exciting. So welcome Debbie. Let's get on with the subject. So today is going to be like a simple subject around if you're thinking of adoption, what types of things do you need to consider? What can you do before you start the adoption process to be ready for it? So I would like to say that we were fostering our boys before we adopted, and also I want to say that sorry for lack of videos. I lost my voice for about a week. It's coming back, so here we are. So the first thing to say is before you go into the adoption process, the very first thing I think you need to consider is whether you have time for adoption, whether you have time for the process, whether you have, more importantly, time for the child or children coming into your home. Most of us fill our days up with this, that and the other, and I know my husband and I are very the type of people like have very busy lives no matter what. Apologies as well, because you're going to see people in and out in our garden today. So we have busy lives, and we've always filled those lives with whatever. So when we came to look at the process, and we were challenged at the time, we were looking at the fostering process, which is a similar thing about where are you going to find the time. Look at your week now. So I encourage you to do the same. Look at your week now and imagine what it will be like when you have assessments happening, visits happening from different people, and then when you finally have the children, especially in the early days, the number of appointments that you need to do, meetings that you need to do, and settling in those children. What does your week look like now, and what changes might you have to make when it comes down to it, when you actually come down to the adoption process? Because it's worth discussing that now. It's because that's definitely the social worker is going to ask you that, so start thinking about that now. The next most important thing in my mind is a bit of a reality check about idealism or ideology around adoption. So hear me out on this one. I think it's the most amazing thing to do, and I'm really happy that we did do it, and I'm really happy with what I've learned about myself and what adoption has given back to us and what it's given to the boys. Okay, so I want to say that first. But I would say there's a lot of ideology around adoption. Oh, it's a nice thing to do. We're giving them a forever home. There's a lot of kind of a little bit of patting on the back, if you like, about adopting children and doing them a favour per se. And that idealism comes from the fact that you are, helping the children out. And yes, you are. But I want you to just take a reality check about the fact of what they've maybe come from, and the fact that they've had lives previous to you, even if that's in the womb. And that, yes, you are going to be doing an amazing thing. Yes, you are likely going to be changing their lives, but there will be sometimes limitations on that. And that's something I talk about in my videos. You can't put everything right for an adopted child, no matter how amazing you are as an adopted parent. It could be that some of the effects of what have happened to them will stay with them for the rest of their lives, and you cannot necessarily put all of that right. Having said that, you can put a lot right for them. So please take this as a balanced view on that, okay? So my sons are teenagers now, so I've had the experience of seeing what it's like from having them age 2 and 3 right the way through, so I can say with a little bit of conviction about that. Okay, so the next thing I want to say is a lot of adopters worry maybe that they're not going to bond with the children or child that they have very quickly. Now, I've got biological children and I've got the adopted children, so I can have a view on this, and this is only my experience. Some adopters do say that they get that bond immediately that they have the child in their home, and there's just no doubts, no misgivings about the whole thing. The child comes in and they have that immediate attachment. Some do say that, and others kind of struggle with it a little bit more and say that they don't get that. And I think that can worry adopters more than it needs to, because I think that you need to understand that they've come from different circumstances, they've got their personalities, they've got the temperaments, and then they come into you. And so if you don't immediately bond with your adopted child, it doesn't matter. And the reason why I say that is because in our experience, it happened over time. The relationship that we had with our sons grew over time, stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, until now, as teenagers, I would feel equally as devastated if anything happened to them. I believe I have an equal bond with them, even if we have perhaps more difficulties in some ways with their understanding of things. I'm going to say that love and that bond is as strong as my biological children. And if you think about that, that is amazing. So what I'm saying to you is it happens, in my opinion, but it may take a long time. For some people, maybe it doesn't happen, and that is a massive challenge to go through life in that situation. But that's for another video, okay? But I'm going to say that it does happen, but it may not happen right away, and that's just reality. Another thing I want to say is the adoption process is a very open process. People say it's brutal, and it kind of is, but it's brutal because you have to be open. You can't hide things between yourself and your partner if you have a partner, or your immediate family if they're going to be involved and you don't have a partner and you're single, and you can't really hide things for the social worker. And so it's worth thinking about that now. If you're quite a private person and you don't like to open up, it's good to try and practice now, okay? Especially if you have a partner, start talking about things that bother you now. Start talking about what things you argue about now, what things you'd like to change in your relationship, in your home. Practice being open with each other about things that might need to be different, because when it comes to the process, they will tap into what your relationship's like and the things that you argue about, and they will tap into that. So why not talk about it now? And if there's any changes that you need to make, ready for adoption, don't wait for that. Make those changes now. Start putting into place now things that you think are going to help you. If it means that every week you need to sit down and have a chat, have a catch up, keep your communication open as a couple, because actually you might need to do that when you adopt. Well, I can safely say it'll be more than once a week that you need to do that, but start doing it now. Start being open now and learning to share with each other, so that when the assessments happen and the social worker is there, who's at the beginning a relative stranger, but by the end hopefully will become a good friend, then you're ready for it. Okay, you're ready for it. Now some practical things. There is a fly flying around right in front of me. It's very annoying. Practical things, okay. Some people live in immaculate homes with furnishings that are very nice, and seating areas that are lovely, kitchens that are organised, and they know that no matter who comes into their home, they're not going to be embarrassed about anything because they're generally tidy and clean people, okay? Other people live in relative chaos, and I've always got piles of dishes, I've always got stuff on the floor, I've always got laundry overflowing, and that is just life. Again, people are different. Now, a social worker is not going to stop you adopting if you're untidy, you're a little bit unclean at times, a little bit chaotic, but there is a line to which they will accept. And people might say, well, what is that line? You can't answer that, because social workers are different because they're people, but generally speaking, they're looking for pet areas to be hygienic, food areas to be hygienic, and not for the house to feel chaotic, because it could well be that some of the children or child that you have already come from that, and the social worker will want a sense of calm for the child. Now, if you already have children and you're adopting on top of having your own children, they are not going to come in and expect everything to be super organised. Brilliant if you're like that. I'm not like that, so I am not telling you need to be like that. I just think you need to have places for things to go, and the house needs to feel like it has some sort of flow to it, and it's got enough organisation in it. And when a new child comes in, they're going to be able to find things. They're not going to be stumbling over stuff to get to their bedroom. You know, the fridge is relatively okay stocked. The cupboards, you can find stuff in. Do you know what I mean? So it's being sensible about it. And if you're not that type of person now, again, practice finding homes for things. Get yourself some new storage if you need to. Think about the way that your food is laid out. Just start practicing now and getting yourself organised, because so much of your time is going to get filled up when that child comes or children come, and you're not going to be able to do it then. So you might as well do it now. Okay, so that's just a practical thing. And making a step further than that, if you've got any obvious DIY that needs to happen, if your house needs painting, if your garden needs sorting out, if especially safety aspects need doing, there's no harm in doing it now. I'm not asking you that you go and sort of child-proof it now, because you don't know what age children you're having, so don't go too far. But if it's obvious that your front gate is broken and a child could run out of there, get it fixed now. Start putting all those things in place, because you're going to have to do it anyway. And in my mind, it makes you feel more confident and more ready when that social worker comes and starts doing assessments. So you might as well do it now. Now, there are some variations in this next point with the finances, because depending on how you and your partner, if you're together, work finances out and who does what for work will really vary on this, okay, really vary. But you need to consider that they will ask one of you to take more than likely 12 months off. Now, I think in some places, in some areas, in some situations, that would be flexible. But I'm going to say, from my experience, what I've heard, the majority of the time, people like to hear you taking 12 months off. And this is not just because it's a set thing, but because children take a while to settle. If they are not really, really tiny babies, then they've had a foster carer, they've had a history, and this is yet another home, and they need to have time to build an attachment with at least one person. And if you're going back to work quite early, they can't have as much time with you. So start looking at finances now. How is that going to impact you? You know, I'll be honest with you, social workers, in my opinion, do like to see that it's the mum at home. But, you know, you could be a same-sex couple anyway. So that's, you know, depending how you address that, how you look at that. But it could be the dad. You know, look at who it is going to be the best person to make that initial attachment with that child. Whose job is the best to keep? What sort of pressure are there in your jobs? Are there even changes that need to be made there? You've got to be really open to making big changes, because this is going to be life-changing when this child or children come in. I keep saying children because we've got two, but it's going to be life-changing. And so, yes, the process will help you to look at those things. The social worker will challenge you on whether you need to make changes. So say you've both got really high pressured jobs and you're both really good earners, and it's really difficult to know who's going to take the 12 months off, and you know, it's really difficult for either of you to have a career break. Well, it's amazing that you've had that so far and that you've had those careers, but does it need to be looked at? And I don't want to dictate to you how that would be, but does it need to be looked at? So give that some thought as well. Give some thought to as well what support, not necessarily financially, but in helping you to relieve the financial element, that friends and family can be around you as well. Now, my next point is, you need to understand with adoption that you're going to be investing a lot of time, energy, money, etc. You're going to change your life around, and you may not automatically feel that you're getting anything back from the child, because children that have been through a lot, if they've been abused, neglected, maltreated, do not necessarily open out right away to you. And sometimes they do, but it's only to placate you. it's only to keep you happy because they are fearful of something happening to them. Now, again, it may not matter how much you invest in them, how good you are at doing what you're doing, they still may have that fear about what might happen to them. And so you don't necessarily automatically get the love back. Over time, you definitely will. And over time, you'll realise it is the most amazing thing you ever did, and you will have no regrets. But in the beginning, you may not feel that. You may not feel that you're getting anything back, and you may get a lot of behaviours that you weren't expecting, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of difficulties in the very early days. And those very early days could be 2 years. So guys, I hope that gives you a flavour of what to do to get ready for adoption. It's just a flavour. There are so many other things I could say, but those are kind of some key points that I think are important for you. So thank you for watching Fly Little Birds, and I'll see you next time.